Wealth, yoga, wine. Welcome to my podcast, Valerie Hale. Quantum leaps are heart-centered choices. Quantum leaps are achieved through heart-centered desires. When you take quantum leaps, you have reached the realm of U squared. When you reach that realm of U squared, you have opened possibilities to a whole new genre of life, of opportunities, of choices. And you no longer have to try harder, because that's what's running a lot of our lifestyles. U squared literally means to double yourself exponentially. And when you take quantum leaps, that's where it leads you. Dr. Pritchett has been studying this, and he actually created the concept of U squared and the whole strategy of achieving quantum leaps to become U squared since the 1970s. He is a world-renowned business author. We had a great class with him last week, and he taught us on an individual basis how to achieve quantum leaps. What are quantum leaps and U squared? According to Dr. Pritchett, you need to have a high tolerance to risk. You need to be able to wade into and jump into unknown territory. We have actually all experienced quantum leaps. What about the baby who has been crawling for months and now is relentlessly pursuing walking upright? The baby falls, the baby gets bumps, the baby cries, but this relentless drive to walk is their U squared and quantum leap mission. Why do we pursue this? Why would we want to go into unknown territory? Why would we want to make ourselves uncomfortable? Because many of us have settled. We're in the pandemic, and we have been fed these thoughts that we can't really do much. That's not true. The reason you want to pursue quantum leaps and into the realm of U squared is because you want to do better. It's human nature to want better, to do more, to want a different lifestyle. The whole idea of risk tolerance, the realm of unknown. I have a good example. 20 years ago, I bought 40 acres in 3 houses in Hyde Park, New York. The property is literally up the street from the Culinary Institute of America. My dream, and actually now I think it was a wasp in my bonnet, was to have a French-themed bed and breakfast, because I sold French wine for 20 some odd years. After 16 years of achieving this dream, now I was already working additionally full-time in the wine industry. After 16 years of having this dream fulfilled, I have said 2 years ago, I'm done. This was a great adventure. I have put everything on the market this year. Everything's waiting to be bought by the new owner. If anybody's interested in 40 acres and 3 beautiful houses that are all rented now, I did close the inn because of COVID. Go to my website, shayvalerie.us. And in regards to your higher goal, if you have no idea because you have been caught up in a downward spiral with the pandemic, go to my website. There are 2 free masterclasses. These masterclasses are given by Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey, 2 of the most honored and influential transformation mentors in the world. Between them, they have 110 years of experience. Both these classes will help you get it together as far as a higher goal. Dr. Pritchett talks about the ratio of 5-to-1, another management strategy. He asked us, what do you think is more important? To think positive or to not think negative? Sounds like a trick question, so just think about it for a couple of seconds. What do you think is more important? To think positively or to not think negatively? You cannot have enough optimism in your life. However, we seem to have a lot of negativity in our life. How do you stop that? You employ the 5-to-1 management ratio. Every time you find yourself caught in this negative downward spiral, stop and think of 5 positive thoughts. This is not easy. It doesn't come to you overnight. I'll give you an example. I moved to an apartment complex after I left New York, put everything on the market, and I have not lived in an apartment complex in 40 some odd years. Beautiful place. There is one gentleman here who has a huge sense of entitlement. We actually all try to avoid him. I get irked by him. He'll stop in front of my patio and talk to people about things that are really not pleasant. Sometimes I have to close my sliders to have privacy. And I'll step away, and when I know he can't see me, I'll give him the Bronx salute, which is an obscene gesture with your hand. Now that I've been studying with Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey and Pritchett, I don't do that. I send him wishes of well-being. I send him peace. I also tell myself, you are moving, girl. And I am. Buying a place in South Pasadena, a beautiful little condo. I'm also going to live part-time in Portugal. My other 5th thought is, I'm out of here. That's how you do 5-to-1 ratio. And that also leads you to quantum leaps. Those quantum leaps are going to make your life so much easier and open doors so that, yes, you become U squared. Try the 5-to-1 ratio. Try so many decisions from a heart-centered desire. Heart-centered management is going to become the style of a new management within businesses and corporations. I promise you, with this pandemic, you are going to see a lot better management styles that are driven from heart-centered. Kundalini Yoga is the only yoga I have ever studied, and it's going to stay that way. There is heart-centered chakra that they focus on in their Kundalini classes. When you go to my website, shayvalerie.us, click on the yoga tab. Har Prakash is my virtual teacher from New York. I have studied with her for 5 or 6 years in Hudson Valley. Send her an email or click on her class. Get signed up. I promise you, in every class that she is doing, you are going to experience a heart chakra kriya. What's important for us to open our hearts, literally, physically, is that it teaches us how to forgive, to move on. The past is the past. It also helps us to remove anger from our lives. Women are notorious for holding anger in their chest, and research proves that cancer cells are driven from anger. And that's why a lot of women develop breast cancer, because we hold a lot of anger in our chest area. Heart center chakra. Do it. Wine. Remember, I have said don't buy wines that you see in a 25-case stack. I have an exception. It's important to know your importer, and one of my favorite, if not the favorite, is Cape Classics. I also love T. Edward wines, Hermit Lynch wines. What's important to know your importer and how to know your importer is to simply turn the bottle around and look on the back label. It will always have the name of the importer. T. Edward wines, you'll generally see it T-E-W, but Cape Classics will always be spelled out Cape Classics. Cape Classics has been in the United States for 20 some odd years. They are known mostly for their South African wines. They import the creme de la creme of South African wines. This is so worth your time and effort to search out Cape Classic imports from South Africa. The 25K stack that I'm talking about, I'm only going to talk about Excelsior. That was actually their entry wine into the United States. Excelsior does the normal, they produce the normal varietals, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah. They are vegan friendly, the reds are, because they're not filtered, or they don't use an animal bladder or egg whites. Their wines are an amazing value. Vintage after vintage, you can bank on it. They are going to be good wines. They're also certified organic. Every country has a different certification. The South African certification, that you will usually see the initials IPW. The wines, a few times a year, you're going to see them retailed at $6.99, and that's when a retailer, I'm going to give you an inside secret, a retailer has bought 100 cases. I've done that a few times in my life, not too many, but it is a nice ka-ching when I do it. You will generally see the South African wines, Excelsior, listed at about $9.99, maybe $8.99. Another thing that I like about the South African wines and Cape Classics, they are always giving back. They donate a portion of their proceeds to the local schools and also the local hospitals. So Excelsior wines, if you see that stack of 25 cases, buy a few cases. Their wines are wonderful. They're quaffir wines. They're what we call patio pounder wines. You can come home from work or start drinking at noon, depending on where your pandemic mentality is. Great wines, great wines. To wrap this up, quantum leaps come from a heart-centered desire, a burning desire. And if you are stuck, go to my website, take one of the free master classes, and you will be on your way to working on U squared. Kundalini Yoga is one of the oldest yogas in the world. And I promise you, every class will have at least something to work on your heart chakra. Get rid of that anger. Learn how to forgive. Cape Classics, one of my favorite importers. And as a side note, which I'll talk about in the next podcast, is they have stuck their big toe and then the rest of their 9 toes into French wines. And you know I'm a Francophile. Excelsior is a great example of an entry wine for you to try. In conclusion, I'm not a life consultant. I'm not a life coach. I'm doing this podcast because I believe that these 3 topics can enhance your life in a really quick method. Merci, au revoir.